Hello, everybody, and welcome to 38 Weeks to Go, your weekly podcast about fantasy football. Gameweek 13 is done, and boy, was that a tough one. There's no better place to start than Manchester City 1, Liverpool 1. This was a tight game. Clearly, Liverpool will feel like they've done justice for themselves, having lost 4-1 the last time they met at the Etihad. Haaland made history in this game by becoming the fastest player to score 50 goals in the Premier League. He did it in 48 games. Andy Cole did it in 65. He is ridiculous. And this is also the first time he scored against Liverpool in the Premier League. So I feel bad because I bet against him, and I know better, but yeah, that happened. He scored off of an Alisson mistake. Alisson, I don't know what he was doing. I don't know if it's jet lag, but that man, he isn't the reason he drew that game. If Manchester City were better, imagine saying that. They would have won this game. If Foden made better decisions, they would have scored. Mistakes. There were so many mistakes this weekend. Liverpool's goal, however, was not a mistake. It was just good football. Alisson made a save. They launched a counter. Salah laid it for Mr. Trent Alexander-Arnold, and he put it in at the bottom corner. It must be said, Ake's run to set up Haaland was pretty. Both of them were good goals. One was a mistake, one wasn't. Alisson will feel very lucky that he did not cause more harm to Liverpool. I keep telling you guys, every time Doku plays, it feels like he met Haaland on the pitch and they have never seen each other before. Their chemistry sucks. Their understanding sucks. It seems like Doku can't find Haaland. I don't know if their games are incompatible. I just don't know what's going on. I'm sure in time it will be solved because it's just their first few games together. But it's not a great start. But Grealish took his time as well, so there's that. Having said that, Doku finished with 3 bonus points, Ake finished with 2, and Haaland finished with 1. It goes to show who the dominant team was. It seems that this season, the biggest mistake to make against Liverpool is to score first. They are the comeback kings. Also, one thing I'm very happy about is that I saw Doku cut Mr. Van Dijk. And now we no longer have to hear those stats of, oh, nobody has dribbled past him in blah, blah, blah minutes and da, da, da. No. He was cut a good one. Salah continues to be impressive. That's his 8th attacking return in the last 6 matches. He has produced 7 goals and 4 assists in the last 7 matches against Man City. Goodness, that's why he was my captain. Burnley 1, West Ham 2. Hey, this game, I was following it off on live score, and I was panicking in real time before I got to watch the match later. Burnley caused a lot of trouble, but they just can't seem to hold on to any lead. I think now they're the first team in Premier League history to lose, I think, their first 7 home games. And this season, they are the team that has lost the most games from a winning position. Koleosho was amazing as he is for Burnley. He keeps running. He keeps being a threat. I can see him staying around when Burnley get relegated. If he doesn't go to Saudi Arabia. Because that's what happened to the West Brom kid. I think it was called Pereira. West Ham were without Antonio and Bowen, and it seemed like they were going to struggle. Burnley took the lead through a penalty from Rodriguez. And in the last 5 minutes of the game, West Ham came back. Kudus drove them forward. O'Shea scored an own goal, and Souček scored the winner. Mr. Alexander Mutuna's favorite player, Souček. And I was hating on him in the interview. I swear these people at the top, they know things that we don't. The most frustrating thing for me in this game was Areola. West Ham cannot keep a clean sheet. It doesn't matter what they do. And I was here hating on Edison and Alisson, but Areola has been a mess. At this point, it's more like, when will they fire company rather than will they? It's sad. They are going to make sure that a team like Everton, which has been deducted 10 points, will get out of relegation without a problem. Kudus had 2 assists for West Ham, and he finished with 2 bonus points. Rodriguez, who scored the penalty for Burnley, had the 3 bonus points, and Souček got the last bonus point. Luton versus Crystal Palace, 2-1 to Luton. I didn't see this game coming. I expected Luton to score because they are good at scoring goals. And then once Eze left, I was panicking a bit. I really wanted that clean sheet from Anderson. And then having watched the highlights, I saw he came so close to scoring himself. Mengi scored for Luton and Brown scored off assists from Morris and Ogbene. For all of you who have been wondering what I mean by Crystal Palace have missed Olise, please go and look at that goal. I know Garnacho's goal may be goal of the weekend, but for some, this is the one. It was such a brilliant curling effort, especially given the run that he made. It was quite a difficult goal to score. It's such a pity now that they gain Olise, then they lose Eze. Crystal Palace are going to be one of those teams that just can't get fit altogether at once. Crystal Palace, to their credit, they did try to win this game. I mean, Kaminski had 7 saves. But at the end, he who scores more wins. And Luton scored more. And they won the game. Olise got all the bonus points. He was a menace the whole game. He had 5 shots and he created 3 good chances. One in particular was a big chance. He was the best player on the pitch. He got the 3 bonus points. Brown got 2 and Mengi got 1. Newcastle 4, Chelsea 1. Oh, Chelsea, Jekyll and Hyde. You never really know what you're going to get with them. This is why I do not have any Chelsea defenders. They can score 4 on any day, but they can also get 4 on any day. I was rewarded in this game personally by bringing Gordon into my team. I hadn't anticipated Isak playing. I thought Gordon would start as striker, but it didn't matter because he started anyway. The goals came from Lascelles. For those of you who have him, well done. I saw some of you had him on the bench. Sorry. Joe Linton scored. Isak scored. Gordon scored. Sterling scored a free kick. I think they said it was his first free kick in 315 games. That is a poor record. But the real story of this game was just mistakes. Thiago Silva, I don't know if him and Alisson were having a party the night before, but he was awful. This is the worst game of Thiago Silva I've ever seen. He was just fumbling. Chelsea, they tried, but once they got the red card again, it stopped being a contest. Reece James got the red card, and it seems like with him, there's always something. He's injured, he makes bad decisions. He's supposed to be the leader of the team, but he's a perfect representation of who Chelsea are right now. One day they look like world beaters. You'd think Reece James is the best right back in the world. And then tomorrow, suddenly it's not so clear. Almiron, Gordon, Miley the 17-year-old, had a great assist for Isak. The manager said a pass beyond his years, but it was a good pass. Chelsea were just demolished. Newcastle continue the impressive home record. No clean sheet for me. Trippier came close, but no cigar. Suddenly that 6.5 is looking quite expensive. Gordon got the 3 bonus points. Then Isak with 2, Almiron and Miley both got 1. Just goes to show how impressive they were. Brighton 3, Nottingham Forest 2. Even with all the players missing, Brighton played the football that we expect of them. They were just so beautiful to watch. They moved the ball so well. Unfortunately for them, Ansu Fati got injured again. Lamptey got injured again. So their depleted squad is depleted further. Elanga, who I didn't think would play, played and scored. Gibbs White was very influential in this game for Nottingham Forest. The assists came from Hudson-Odoi and Gibbs White. For Brighton, João Pedro scored a lovely header. I really love headers that come from quite a distance. Random. Luca Toni scored my favorite header of all time. How do you score a header from outside the box? How? Look it up. It's beautiful. Anyway, João Pedro came on for Ansu Fati, who got injured, scored 2 goals. Ferguson was back, got in the goals again. Cross had 2 assists. So if you listen to the preview pod, this match pretty much went as one would have thought it would have gone in terms of who we thought would perform. João Pedro got the 3 bonus points, Gibbs White got 2, and Gross got 1. Elanga has now scored or assisted 6 goals in the Premier League this season. Brighton are the only goal to have scored and conceded in every single game this far. Isn't that crazy? Sheffield 1, Bournemouth 3. When I looked at the fixture list, this game is one that I penciled in. I had brought in Solanke, and I thought I had outsmarted everybody. I thought he was going to be the one who gave me differentials of 2 goals. So each time Bournemouth scored, I was like, points. Except there were none. Tavernier, Kluivert, and Tavernier scored for Bournemouth. Tavernier could have had a hat-trick. I don't even know what Solanke was doing. Well, he had chances, half chances. Semenyo and Smith had the assist, and McBurney scored for Sheffield. Baldock with the assist. Fantasy can be hard sometimes. You get the result you want, but not in the way you want it. Sheffield played like their position. Just so many mistakes. There were so many mistakes this weekend. You know, football, you either score like great goals or you just capitalize on the defensive mistakes. If you're a good team like Liverpool or Aston Villa, you press and you force mistakes. But then some of these guys just make mistakes individually, like they're still on international break. It's hard to be a manager. Just look at Kluivert's goal. Tavernier had the 3 bonus points, Kluivert had 2, and Baldock had 2. Fotheringham made 8 saves. He continues being the goalkeeper who's peppered the most. He also has a mistake in him, he's like Pickford. Arsenal 1, Brentford 0. At this point, I'm thinking it might be time to just bring on Saliba. I just remove, what's-his-face? Newcastle man, exchange them, and carry on. It was a tight game. Arsenal won in the end, and by the end I mean in the end. Havertz scored a header off Saka's beautiful cross. It was a bit harsh. Brentford were in it, but you have to play for 90 minutes, and Arsenal are very good at scoring last-minute goals. They are playing really well. This title is open. It seems to be between Liverpool, Man City, and Arsenal. Zinchenko got the 3 bonus points, Saka got 2, and Tomiyasu got 1. I had anticipated Mbumo doing nothing, so I benched him. He had a chance though. He's had good chances to score in both of the last 2 games, but it just wasn't meant to be. But they have a good run of games coming up. For the Havertz haters, yeah, he did it. He was brought on as a sub. I saw a meme which was like, imagine needing a goal and bringing on Kai Havertz. Maybe this is the point where he turns his season around. Let's see. Spurs 1, Aston Villa 2. This for me was the game of the weekend. Spurs have scored the first goal in the last 3 games, but have gone to lose all 3 of them. That's tough. If you want to hear about tough, Son scored 3 goals in this game, and all 3 of them were disallowed. And one of them was a particularly beautiful run and a nice curling effort. They were all rightfully refused. There was a post. Aston Villa also had goals disallowed. It was a really, really open game. Watkins got the business done. As always, he could have scored 1 more at least. He has now registered 12 goals and assists in the Premier League. Only Haaland and Salah have done more. Hey, guys, Matty Cash was a disaster. It's very funny. He doesn't seem to be able to handle people who are just fast. It's like Everton. I don't know why they put Ashley Young out there when the other team has fast wingers. They always destroy him and he ends up making mistakes. Matty Cash had to be removed at halftime. He was doing nothing. He got Betancourt injured. He was a mess. In fact, for the first half, Spurs were dominant. I don't know how they didn't score more than 1 goal in that opening 45 minutes. It's a good thing for Ange Ball that they were still able to play like they wanted. Emery loves an open game. It was a very entertaining game. This was the most entertaining game of the season for me so far. Lo Celso scored his first goal in like 2 years. His last goal was under Nuno Espirito Santo. Watkins scored, and Pau Torres scored. Douglas Luiz and Tielemans had the assists. Pedro Porro had the assists for Spurs, and he was great. He was great. I'm even thinking about bringing him into my team now. He could have scored. He could have had more. He was the man of the match. Looking at the bonus points, Lo Celso had 3, Douglas Luiz had 2, and Pedro Porro had 1. Well deserved. He played really well. Man United 3, Everton 0. I honestly thought Everton would have more fight in them because of the points deduction, and they've also been in good form of late. I wanted to bring in Maguire for my team this weekend, but after this game, their games are a bit tougher, so I opted to go for Mykolenko because I thought Everton have a better run of games than Man U. I should have just brought in Maguire and then put in Mykolenko next week. Having said that, Mykolenko had 2 good chances to score. He forced saves out of Onana. Onana played really, really well. Idris Ganagay, who I joked about scoring, really tested him. But Garnacho, oh my, Garnacho. That is goal of the weekend. And I don't think it's close. I could understand if you want to argue Olise, but this was really the goal of the weekend. A beautiful orthodox kick, bicycle kick. Am I the only one who calls a bicycle kick an orthodox kick? I don't know why I call it an unorthodox kick. I joked about Rashford not being able to score, and Fernandes gave him a pity penalty, and thankfully he scored. So Rashford is back. I think this is his 2nd goal of the season. This is the first convincing Man U victory that I can remember this season. I know they've won before, but this one felt like, yeah, we're back. Mainu in the midfield was really, really good. 18-year-old. They might have uncovered something with him over there. This game was just too big for Everton. They just were second best, and it's okay. They have easier fixtures coming up. Garnacho scored the opener. Rashford scored a penalty. Martial scored what they call a deft chip. It was a good play. Man United really played well. Dalot, Fernandes and Martial had the assists. Onana made 6 saves. Dalot had the 3 bonus points. Martial had 2 and Onana had 1 bonus point. Everton tried. And now we move on to the final match of the day. Fulham 3, Wolves 2. Willian scored 2 goals. Andy Iwobi scored the other for Fulham. For Wolves, that Korean guy scored for Wolves. And Cunha. And with an assist from Bellegarde. This game was lively, but also so full of mistakes. There were 3 penalties off. Just silly challenges. And everybody converted their penalty. Willian converted 2 of his penalties. And Wang converted the penalty. There was potential for more goals, but 3-2 is how it ended. Looking at the top performers of the week, Onana was a goalkeeper who had the most points. He had 9. Ramsdale had 6. Martinez had 4. Flecken had 3. Becker had 3. That just goes to show that goalkeepers conceded a lot this weekend. When looking at defenders, Dalot was number 1 with 12 points. Zinchenko number 2 with 9. Mengi had 9. Pau Torres had 8, along with Trent Alexander-Arnold. When it comes to midfielders, Tavernier had 16, Willian had 15, Gordon had 13, Gibbs-White had 12, Olise and Kluivert and Lo Celso and Kudus finished with 10. Just hearing the names that I read out, you can tell that this was a week of differentials. In the forward position, João Pedro had 13, Martial had 11, Rodriguez had 9, Isak had 8, Brown, Haaland and Cunha had 7. So, as you can tell, none of the main people delivered as we would have expected them to. Going into our 38 weeks to go league, having heard the points leaders, you can tell that the week was going to be mid. The highest points getter in our group got 61 points. The only difference this time is that we had 2 group leaders in terms of points. Goodness Gracious Me got 61 and Mike Wow got 61. A double interview? Well, I will try my best to get it. Vic Nyadi finished with 59. Our main man, Jeremiah Obiri, who does not change his team, finished with 58 points. And Melvin rounds up the top 5 with 53 points. There has been a change at the top of the table. Simon Anijua has taken a 10-point lead. He has 842 points. Number 2, Mr. Why Are You Running has 44 points, which puts him at 832 points. Vic City got 59 points, which put him at number 4 at 820. Don't Bottle It is number 4, who has 812 games. Number 5 is Melvin Asakanya, not Katharima. Katharima is the one who got 50-something points. Asakanya is number 5, and he has 765 points. So you can see that there's a big gap between number 4 and number 5. At the bottom, Washira Gitahi
is last with 605 points. He sleeps through storms, is number 20 with 606, and he had to bring in either Haaland or Salah, and he brought in Haaland from not having either of them. Team Kubwa is number 19 with 640 points. There's a 34-point gap between number 19 and number 20. Number 18, Mount Freemasons, has 656 points. So there's a 16-point gap there. Between number 18 and number 17, there are 3 points. Mr. Obiri has really leapfrogged people with 58 points. Considering he was 3 points away from number 1 in terms of points, it would have been interesting to interview him when he hasn't changed his team. Unlike previous times, this time only 2 players in his team did not play from the starting lineup. On the bench, nobody played. His approach is quite interesting. Make your team once and forget about it. This coming weekend will be after Champions League this week. Arsenal will be playing Wolves. And just like we've said in the past, delay your decision making for your transfers until you know who is available. With Europe midweek, you never know what can happen. Just look at the international break and the effect it had on teams this week. With Arsenal, it's clear that I don't think I no longer need to tell you who is your guy in that team. It's Saka. It's Saliba. I mean, Arsenal have the best defense in the league now. And then you choose from the Odegaards and the Martinellis. And the Jesuses. Trossard is also a good bet. He has been scoring a lot for them. Basically, the usual suspects. For Wolves, that Korean guy, if he's not your first choice in that team, I don't know what you're doing if you have another asset in that team, especially since Neto is unavailable. Bellegarde is another option, like I had previously said. I wouldn't go into Wolves' defense right now, and I don't know how to recommend another third player from that team. So I'll just say the Korean guy, Bellegarde, Cunha. That's it. Brentford start their easy games on paper. Luton have shown that they're no pushover. So do with that information what you will. But Mbomo will be back in my team. This is when you can go back to the Wisas and the Jensens and the Janels and one of their defenders. Luton tend to score. It's just a matter of deciding who will score. I don't believe it's a team that many people will make a gamble on. But should you decide that that is your path, Morris, Ogbene, maybe try Mengi or Brown again. Who knows, maybe this is an uptick in form. Burnley versus Sheffield. Relegation derby like no other. The 2 worst teams in the Premier League face off. Just like I said last week about Bournemouth, Sheffield. Both of these teams must win. Sheffield missed like 9 to 10 players. And that's, I think, the reason that their manager hasn't been sacked, because even if you hire a new guy, those players are still unavailable. Even if those players are unavailable, I think Sheffield is a better team. So this is where you look at your McBurneys and your Archers. For Burnley, the best options are Rodriguez, Kolyosho, Nottingham Forest, Everton. This has the potential for many goals. They've been playing really well of late, both of these teams. Yes, they've lost the last game, but I wouldn't hold that against them. They played superior opposition. And now they're playing each other, which is more even. I'm hoping for a Mykolenko show. But Elanga, Morgan Gibbs-White, Hudson-Odoi, maybe Wood, will be the bigger performers for Forest. For Everton, I think Mykolenko, after his performance in the Man U game and his 2 unlucky chances, he's still a favourite for me. I'm also biased because I have him. You also have Doucouré, Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Harrison. Newcastle versus Man United. Man United start a run of fixtures which are losable. Before, the previous fixtures were winnable. There were games they could win. Now, these games are losable ones. I think Newcastle are the better team. And not only that, Newcastle have been a very good team at home. I don't think it's going to be 4-1 like how they just dismantled Chelsea. But I believe that they will win. My boy Gordon will lead the way. Isak will be there. Almiron. Both teams will be playing in Europe. And depending on how that goes, I hope Newcastle don't lose more players. And I hope Man U don't lose more players. But this game will be a game that will be really affected by how Europe goes. So please take that into consideration if you're looking at this matchup for the game week coming up. Bournemouth versus Aston Villa. This will be an interesting game. It'll be an open game. Both teams love attacking football. Bournemouth seem to know what they're doing now. They've won 3 of their last 4 games. They are an informed team. Aston Villa are the better team, but you don't know what will happen in Europe. For Aston Villa, it'll be the usual suspects. The Watkins, Diaby, Bailey, Douglas Luiz, maybe Matty Cash and Luka Digne will give us something. For Bournemouth, I guess we can't look past Tavernier, Kluivert, what's the other guy called? Solanke, Semenyo. There are options on both sides. Chelsea versus Brighton. I can only tell you one thing. Brighton will concede. Brighton haven't kept a clean sheet this season. And I do not know why they would start now. Especially since they have been so miserable after Europe. Chelsea can really get at them. And I think they will give them a proper run for their money. Also, they are quite depleted. So, if they get 1 or 2 more injuries in Europe, I don't know how they'll be able to resist Chelsea. For Chelsea, Sterling has either scored or had an involvement in the last 3 games, so he's their best bet. I wouldn't bet on a Chelsea defender. After Sterling, it's dealer's choice. That team is so unpredictable. Of course, if they get a penalty, Palmer will take it. But if they don't, I'm not sure how much more valuable he is than any other player on that squad. Well, he's cheaper than them, but that's about it. On the Brighton side, I guess you'd have to say it'll be Gross, Ferguson, and that's about it. And whoever's available. Liverpool, Fulham. This fixture tends to be more interesting than you'd think it would be. It tends to be open and entertaining. I can easily see both teams scoring. I, however, believe Liverpool have the advantage, and I'll be betting on like Nunez, Salah to just take over this game. It should be an easy game for them. Well, depending on how Europe goes, of course. If they lose Salah and Nunez to injury, suddenly it's a different game. Fulham, you have Willian. You have the decode over Reeds. Morrison had an assist in the last game, so he could do something. But I'm not encouraging anybody to play the Fulham defenders. João Palhinha will be back, so at least he will make that midfield a bit more difficult to pass. I still don't think it'll be enough, though. look for also like Diaz or Jota to perform in this one. West Ham versus Crystal Palace. West Ham will be coming out of Europe. If Bowen comes back, they will be a better team. If he doesn't, they may struggle like they did. However, if they do play without Bowen, then you know that the main players are Kudus, James Ward-Prowse, Paqueta. I'm not sure what the status of Eze is, but Crystal Palace will struggle to attack. However, West Ham are not having it easy themselves, so it could be either a tight game or like a 2-1 or a 3-1 type game. And to close off the game week, it will be a big one. Man City versus Spurs. For whatever reason, Ange has been deciding to play with wing backs as his centre backs. If he continues to do this, they will not be able to contain Haaland. Dia has been available but on the bench. I think he will definitely play, because if he doesn't, they will be hammered. They will have nothing for Haaland in the centre, just small wing backs. Man City have Europe as well, and this could influence how they line up on the weekend. I believe if Grealish is back, I believe he will play, simply because of the link-up play that he has with Haaland. In the last matchup, I thought Doku would destroy Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Trent Alexander-Arnold scored, and Doku also got the 3 bonus points. So make of that what you will. Spurs have been a bit of a bogey team. Well, especially when they're in the Spurs stadium. But this one, I believe it's a game too early. Spurs are not where they would want to be for this game. And I believe Man City have the advantage here. For Spurs, I would say it would be unwise for you to transfer into this game. So just maintain your assets. For City, Haaland, Silva, Foden, the main suspects should be the regular suspects. Maybe Doku, especially if we hear that Grealish want to play, but basically the same players that you would always pick from City should be the same ones you pick today. Don't reinvent the wheel. And with that, I bid you adieu. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you on the weekend. Enjoy Champions League in between. Bye.